Okay, this is a LED. You can set this up. These LEDs can also be used on the board. When you press one of these buttons, you can make a LED, you can make a contact, and you can make a LED light. All right. But remember, more of these buttons and LEDs you add onto the system, more you have less possibilities of connecting. Right. But this board you can do a lot of things with it, and it's cheap. All right. What else? This is ordinary wire from the network cables. Okay, I use these to make jumpers and things like that. For example, here, this is in this case, this is how I used to make I was, or I'm still making my contacts here like this. Okay, so I would use these wires to make the contacts. But you got to do a lot of soldering. Sometimes the solder doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't make good contact, things like that. But after you finish soldering it, and this was inside the PVC tube, the joystick, there is no movement or anything. So it's no problem. You just have to make sure that it's connected properly. All right. And then you see that you have to have a good vision to be able to make this kind of soldering. This side would go, like I said, I think, would go to the board. Depends on the STM32 board. This is that does all the work. Okay, you can see it's a small board. All right. This is another type of connection that you can use. I use this some of these on my joystick. You have this is a 8 or 9 pin. You can put it onto the board like this. All right. This is on the board and comes through the other side. You solder it here, and you can plug this here. Okay. You have a way to plug it in here. All right. And you have them in all different sizes. All different sizes. This is form tree, a 7 pin. Okay. This is a 5 pin. All right. So the connections, optional connections. But these connections here, because of the way they're built, they're too bulky, and I can't get them to fit inside the 32 um, millimeter PVC tube. That's why I have to use this one. Okay. Um, this also, you can connect it to the board. All right. You have 20 pins here, so you cut 20 and you connect it. You don't put solder anything to the board. All right. Don't solder anything to the board because the heat can pass through here and damage the board, the components on the board. Sorry. So you solder onto this here. And whenever you're going to solder, you just remove it. You do the soldering for the pins, okay, and then you put it back on to where to the board. All right, you just plug it into the board. All right, when you remove it, you just got to be careful so as not to bend the pins. All right, but never solder anything directly to the board. The board is cheap. I don't know how many, maybe $5 or something like that. I don't know, but they're cheap. You can buy them a dozen. Okay, buy the dozens. All right. Okay, right. This is a plug, that I was used. I have already explained, and you can just plug it in here, and this would go somewhere else. Okay. For example, I can use this here. This is the plug with the hot glue. I plug in. This is has 5 pins. I plug in the 5 pins, and then on the other side, this is like the female side, and this the male, and this is the female. Okay, and I can connect this to here, and I have a kind of an extension. Okay, and all protected, because sometimes if you don't put the hot glue, these wires would eventually twist, and especially if it's something that's moving, they will eventually twist and make contact, and then you have problems. It starts to short, and you want to know what the problem is, and you'll be searching like crazy to find out what the problem is. All right. Um, well, I explained this is the board that we're going to use. All right. It's the STM32 601, something like that. Okay. It's a cheap board. And the other thing, when you put these board, when you use this kind of a board, and you plug in the mini USB cable, once you plug it in, don't remove it. All right? Because what happens from you removing and plugging and removing and plugging every time, this socket is going to break, and that's what happened to this one. All right, I tried to solder it, but I just can't get it to solder. So this board, I can't make any contact with it anymore. So this board is just junk. I can throw it away. All right, but once you put it in, you buy like a shorter one, and then you can plug your USB into here. All right. In this case, here, look, I have it already in the board, okay, and it stays in the board, right? And then this cable is about 3 meters, 4 meters, I don't remember, and then I would just plug this into my computer. In reality, I plug this into a powered hub instead of plugging it into the computer, all right? So that if anything goes wrong, the hub would burn out and not the socket, the USB socket on the computer. Okay, so this is it. This is fixed, and I don't remove it from here. Okay, you can buy shorter cables and make a double connection, like a connection to a connection, and then it goes to the computer. However you want, you can do that. Okay. um, well, like I said, this is the board. We made the connections here, and on the side of the board here, you have the different pins. And when you take the software is going to give the options of the pins, what you can do with these pins. Okay, but before you can use one of these boards, you have to program the board, right? And to program the board, you need this. This is an ST-Link programmer, okay? Let's call it a programmer, all right? What you do, you're gonna have the software in the computer, and this is a USB. You plug this in the computer, and with the software, you're gonna program this board. How you're gonna connect this? This board is connected with these pins here, all right? On this ST-Link, and this is cheap. It's nothing is expensive here. You have a clock, you have in out, you have a ground, you have a 3.3 volts and a 5.5 volts. We're going to use in our system. We're going to use the 3.3 volts. The FreeJoy uses the 3.3 volts. Okay, so you only need 4 cables. Each one of these corresponds to a pin here. In this case, the pins here are, I think it's the ground. This is the in out. No, this is the clock. This is the in out, and this is the 3.3 volts. All right. So what you do, you connect each one to the contact according to it. Notice this layout is not the same as this. All right, this sequence here is not the same as it is here. So you got to be careful when you program this. All right, you got to put the ground to the ground, in out to in out, clock to clock. All right, and it might not necessarily. So you might have to sometimes invert these, cross over these pins. Okay, and when you plug this into the computer, all right, and you open the software and you when you say flash flash the board, all right, which is you pass all the program and all the instructions onto the board. It's Arduino, okay. I don't know much about Arduino, but I just have a basic knowledge of Arduino. But this is what it's used, all right. Then if you ever need to program this, once this is programmed, you don't have to program it again. It's just once, all right. But sometimes you might want to do it over for whatever reason, all right. And for that, you will need one of these, and this is cheap. It's always good to have one of them handy, all right. You just buy one of them and you keep it, okay. You got to be careful that this thing here can come off. Okay, you got to be careful with this. This end can release, so you got to be careful with it. All right. This is my board. This is another board, circuit board, just like this. All right, but this one is more versatile. You can do many things with this. While this, I can't program this or anything. This is fixed, and I just have to use it how the guy says that I have to use it. So I have some. I can use these for potentiometers. Connect potentiometers here, and the rest are pins. I have digital pins and analogical pins. Okay, I can't. This is the reset. And the mini USB, right? I can't do anything with this, okay? I can't change anything. This is how it is, and this is even much more expensive than for me to buy one of these. This is much more expensive, all right? I don't use this anymore. I had two of them. I'm still using one of them, okay? But just to, because it's just to press one button and send a signal. Well, this is the same kind of socket connection as this. So if you want, for example, from the joystick, you have 8 buttons, all right? And you have 8 wires. And you can connect these, connect them here, and you can use the internet cable kind of connection, okay? So you can use something like this, and you just plug it in, right? And you use this to run the wires to wherever you want to go, all right? It's an option, all right? But this is kind of bulky, all right? So these are nuts and things that I use, different types, okay? And this is screws for wood. Here, my trigger connects to this is a tube, a piece of a tube from a roll, paper roll for a counting machine, okay? And I use this on my trigger on the joystick. And so I'll put the nut inside, and I fix the nut with Duripox, which is this, all right? And you have the two mixtures here, okay? You mix a bit of it, and you fit it inside, and you hold it and let it dry. And then the trigger is connected to here, this screw, and so I just have to screw in my trigger, and the trigger would be like this, okay? And that's it. And I have one on each side, and I have the 2 triggers, all right? This little fella here is the Hall sensor. This I was using on one of my throttles, all right? This you can use, it's the same thing as this. It's the same thing as potentiometer. But the difference with this to the potentiometer is that the potentiometer, it has a contact inside, okay? You have a connection inside. In this case, you don't have a connection. What you have are magnets, and this would pass over the magnets and make a difference in the signal. And this is a capacitor, a little capacitor that you have to use to control any spikes in the signal. All right. This one I have to put it back. I had a bit of a problem, and I have to put it back. All right. And you can buy these Hall sensors. Uh, they're not very expensive, but you can buy them, all right? And you can make your system, all right? This is another board. This is an Arduino board that I was going to use. It does the same thing as this. It does even better than this. But the thing is, the FreeJoy doesn't use this. The FreeJoy uses this one, all right? And I don't know how to program Arduino, all right? But this is the Arduino board. It's a Leonardo, okay? And it can do many more things than this, all right? And it also costs a bit more than that one, all right? And in this case, you see in this Arduino board, they just put the sockets so that you don't have to solder. You just plug in, okay? Some of these boards come without these sockets, but it's best to have this. So you just plug in and you have the different um, names and uses for the different pins, okay? And when you start working with electronics, you will need one of these. Once you start work, you need at least one of these, right? For you to measure resistance, alternate voltage, direct voltage, resistor, okay? At least these you're gonna need. Okay. This, and this, all right? And I have an older one that I'm going to use this part. You see, when I click this, it goes like this, all right? So I'm going to use this on my altitude throttle, all right? I was checking it in the game, and the altitude throttle just moves 90 degrees. So I just need something like this. Inside here, you have some ups and downs, some dents, and you have two little iron balls, and these would be rolling in the dents. That's why you get this kind of a click like this. Okay, so I'm going to need this. You're going to need one of these when you start working with electronics, and it's cheap. No, nothing very expensive. All right, and that's about it. Look, and I have this. This is what I was using on my previous joystick. Okay, you see, I had 16 buttons, something like that, all right? And so I had 16, I think, wires or something like that. Yeah, 16 wires running through, and these would come to the resistor. And from the resistor, they would go to the um, um, shift register, and then from the shift register to the board. Okay, but the thing is, you have to solder all these wires behind here, and that's complicated, and sometimes it's difficult. All right, and you see how I can tie up my wires with the little another piece of the internet cable, right? And that's about all I need or I use for any of my systems. Nothing much, okay?